What's going on, guys? It is Tuesday night. I got 2/3 of Morph Forge on the show tonight. That's still like 50% more than the typical guest. Thanks for being here. Let's get to it. Right out of the gate, my math is sloppy. That's like 100% more than the typical guest. That's what I get for not, just doing these cold opens off the cuff like I do. Thanks for being here. It's Proper Royals Live, coming to you from Minneapolis, back in the home office. Thank you all that tuned in last week from North Carolina. That was a bit of a and I don't want to be overly dramatic. It wasn't a wild show, but ironic that the guy from Minnesota goes to North Carolina, rents a house that the heat doesn't work in the wintertime. So like I'm like camping in 44-degree indoor temperatures. Not exactly my cup of tea, but I made it, survived, did well, sent the invoice for my time. Life is good. I'm glad to be back. I also, after that trip, immediately unpacked, repacked, went down to Des Moines and vended the Cold Blooded Expo show in Des Moines. Thank you all for everybody that came out. Maybe it's regional, maybe it's just I'm one of the, there's less breeders getting out and vending. I don't know what it is. The crowds are good. The buyers are good. The business is good. I'm not saying I got rich at the Des Moines show and, my buddy Tim Simon, he'll cut you a deal if you know what I'm saying. So when he's vending right across the aisle from me, it's a little tough. Tim is great. He actually helped me out a whole lot this weekend. What I am saying is there was a lot of business in the room, a lot of activity in the room. And that's one of the smallest shows, maybe the smallest show that I do, for the year. So anyway, I'm feeling good. Thanks for being here. We got Morph Forge on tonight. They will be out in just a moment. That's Jason and John tonight. I was hoping to get Jamie on the show. She's got a little something going on. That's okay. Take two. What did Meatloaf say? 2 out of 3 ain't. I'm now the old dude. I just referenced a Meatloaf song. We're on the road to Tinley next weekend. I can't believe it. It's kind of weird. Like, it's a really, really big deal, and I really look forward to it. It's amazing how fast they come around. So I hope to see you there. If you're going to Tinley, shoot me a message. Let me know. For all of you all that will be there, all the way back, all the way left is what you got to remember. I am in the very back left corner of the room. All the way back, all the way left, you're going to find Proper Royals. I'll be vending solo this show. Couple deals for you. You bring me coffee, I'm gonna hook you up with a little discount. We'll thank you something if you bring me some coffee. If you watch the booth while I go to the bathroom, now we're talking some serious brownie points. Okay, I'm half joking, I'm half serious. When vending Tinley alone is no joke. So I'll take all the help that I could get. Swing by, say hey. They're long days. I love to hang out. And maybe you buy a snake, maybe you don't. That's okay, but come hang out, okay? So see you at Tinley. The next show after Tinley is not until April 12th, and that is here in Minneapolis. That's a Cold Blooded Expo show, which is just a great show here in Minneapolis, here at the fairgrounds. And for those of y'all that aren't familiar with the Minnesota fairgrounds, they don't screw around with their fairs here in Minnesota, is what I've learned. In Florida, the fairgrounds, you got dirt floor and it smells a little bit like horses. Not here. That's all I can tell you. It's beautiful. It's really nice venue, and it's a great show. There's a lot of great local breeders here on the scene in Minnesota. So come on out for that. And if you want a little taste of Adam outside of Proper Royals world, this Thursday night, I'll be playing at the Grand in Northfield, Minnesota. The Grand is the venue. It's this cool old opera house, like 1896 opera house. And then April 16th, I'll be playing at the Grand with a band called Locktoon. I'll open solo. Locktoon will play a set, and then we'll do a third set together as well, a little collaboration set. So hope to see you there. Those are all the places I'll be. Otherwise, just catch me right here on YouTube, Tuesday nights, Thursday mornings. I'll see you there. Morph Forge. I don't know where these guys came from. I mean, they came from Wisconsin, not Minnesota. There's a thin line between the two, but there is a line. One day they were on the scene, and then they were building this, crushing it with this really big community. And then I was on their show, and they're fun to hang out with. And then we did another episode on their show because they're fun to hang out with. And then one day I'm unloading one morning at a show in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. If you're like me, you hadn't heard of Eau Claire before, and there is Morph Forge, and they're like, do you need help loading in? Or I hope I offered to help them load in. I can't remember exactly how the story goes, but there they were. And then I was like, who do I need to book? And I was like, I've hung out with Morph Forge a lot. And I was like, they've never been on the show. So I'm really, really happy to have them on the show. They've been great neighbors, great friends, great resource in the community. This is not hyperbole. If you don't know Morph Forge, you absolutely should, just for the community, just for the camaraderie, just for the hangout. People like me focus too much on business, too much on the work part of it. And that is a component of it. And they're doing the right things that way, in my opinion. But the community building, which we're going to talk about a little bit, is really awesome and commendable. And it's something I'm jealous of that they're able to do. And I mean that in a respectful, healthy way of jealousy, of impressed by it kind of way. So it's my pleasure for the very first time to welcome Jason and John from Morph Forge to the Proper Royals stage. What's going on, gentlemen? How are you?
Great.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. There's nothing more awkward than listening to somebody talk about you in the third person in the green room, right?
Right. John, you're muted there, bud. I can't hear a word.
It's my strategy, Jason. It's just you and me. Let him ride, right?
I was liking it, but I felt guilty.
You'll be asking for that mute button later, probably, but no, I appreciate it. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, it is weird back there just hearing it and not being able to interact, but I dig it.
Well, here we are now, and only 7 minutes in. There's people that keep track of like how long I ramble during the announcements, and then they report it to me, so I become self-conscious about it and feel like I have to like burn through them. So here we are. We did it in good time. For people that don't know you guys, and as I said, they should, but for people that don't know you, introduce yourselves and then take a little bit of time to introduce your company as well.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, so I'm Jason. Morph Forge is kind of a unique situation. We've got our whole group of snakes kind of split up into almost even. I think John and Jamie on their end have probably a few more, but we split our whole collection up. I take care of a portion, they take care of a portion, and then they also take care of the rats. So that's another big job that I'm glad is over there, since it's not.
You're winning here,
not
Jason.
ready yet.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
So far, so good. But yeah, I mean that's me, I guess, in a nutshell, and just a quick how we got things broken up.
Okay, John, what about you, man?
Yeah, John, obviously here, but we started a little weird. Like Jay says, we've got a split collection because of how this all started. It was really pretty organic and really on the pet side of getting snakes to begin with. The interest in breeding and growing as an entity was kind of added afterwards, and it just made sense. We both love the animals. It made sense to be proximity wise, and the way we progressed through things made sense to just put it together, make it a unit. Jamie's my girlfriend, so she's really coming into that oddly too, but she does a large portion with her geckos. So kind of just really works out great when you're already. Jason's my brother, by the way, for those that don't know.
Okay, I was going to say, like, let me ask the tough questions here. Who are you all to each other? I've known you guys for, I don't know, a couple of years now, and I still have no idea. So so you two are brothers, and then Jamie, got roped in with you, John?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we started dating, seeing each other kind of at the front end of when I even started into ball pythons. So to her, that was extremely odd. Her family, her mother, in fact,
right.
particular was like, I want nothing to do with reptiles. So she kind of came into that with that preconceived notion of what they were and what they were about. But it didn't take a lot of time before she was wanting to go in. Hey, let's see those new babies. Can I feed them? Can I try feeding them? All of that
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
And now she's down there more than I am, and did her own thing with leopard geckos. So it's been good that way.
That's very cool. Yeah. I got into this after I was already married to my wife for 9 or 10 years. So it was, she was stuck with me at that point. But to your point, her family was like,
right.
What's it? Say that. Didn't you have a perfectly good job and hobbies, Adam? Weren't guitars good for you?
Right. Exactly.
And then, so do you all live in the same area? You talked a little bit about proximity, like where the reptiles housed, what's going on as far as some of the logistics of the layout.
Yeah, so we're probably 7-8 miles away from each other.
Okay, yeah.
And then, like I said before, we've got the whole collection's kind of split up. So John and Jamie have half the snakes, and then they've also got all the geckos over there. That's Jamie's main focus now, is the geckos. And then they've got the ASF breeding going on over there too, which is really what kind of prompted we need to get a facility going. So I've got that happening over here on my side. And once that's complete, I think the main things is we'll end up moving the rats over there. Makes sense. Get that out from under them, and into an actual facility. And then I really need to get my half of the collection out of the house as well. And Adam, I mean, being up here in this climate, you're pumping humidity like crazy, right? And you're just saturating. I've got them in a house in a bedroom, so you're saturating all of your walls with humidity, and then you've got cold air on one side, warm on the other, and you're trying to keep that balance. Make sure you try to keep the mold down. It's a never-ending battle. Be really happy to be complete with that and start moving stuff over. So.
And you guys are, I think I said earlier, but you guys are in Wisconsin. So yeah, we have very similar climate. Identical probably is probably easier to say, but yeah, there's a whole different concern of having the snakes in the house, especially with the forced air. I mean, it's so dry, and especially me coming from, I mean, I'm sitting here itching my arm, like from from October to March. It's incredibly dry, and there's days, you guys will know, and anybody in the north will know, but like there's days that you walk outside and your skin just like cinches because it dries like immediately. I mean, it feels like it's freezing, but it could be, it could be well above freezing or around, it could be not dangerous temperatures, and you feel that way just because it's so dry.
Absolutely.
So I want to get to that facility in just a little bit. So save some of those nuggets for that. But so John, you have the ASFs and the ball pythons and the leopard geckos in the house, or you have like the ASFs in like a shed out back or something?
Yeah. So our situation's a little strange here. When Jamie and I moved in to where we're living now, it's an older house. It was built back in the 40s, but it's got a really sufficient first floor. So basement is not really used for anything. It's utility. It's got water heater, all that stuff down there. It's completely finished. It's totally a usable space, but we don't necessarily use it. So we've got an area down there for the geckos and the snakes I want to say that's 12 by 26-ish.
Okay.
That's just sectioned off. I mean, it's a pretty good size space.
That's a big size space. Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of room for them, and they're comfortable down there. Really easy for us to control. It's, below ground, so your issues that you guys just talked about are a little easier to maintain. We can totally seal that area off and keep our humidity and temp really nice. And then on the other end of the house, we had a tuck under garage situation. So that's where the ASFs reside, because we have a separate garage we use for vehicles and actual garage.
Okay. So, all right, good. I feel better for you now. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, ASFs aren't as bad as rats, but you still probably don't want them like in the house.
Yeah. So first thing we did, we pull the basement windows out of that tuck under garage. We put in ventilation there. So we're pulling, decent air from the front, and it hasn't been bad, other than it really limits what we can do with them. It limits how many we can produce. It limits, getting in and out of there is not the easiest thing with supplies and stuff like that. It's awkward.
Yeah.
And of course it is in your house. You always have that concern of when temperatures switch and you first kick on your furnace and air exchanging and stuff is going on. You're going to get a little whiff of that for a day or two before everything clears, you know, and it's
Sure.
like, not ideal, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's
Okay.
working. I mean, it's been sufficient to this point, but we're at a point where that needs to be somewhere else for sure.
Right. Right. Okay. So back to this, like this partnership, setup. You guys have said that, you know, there's kind of two split collections. Do you make breeding decisions collectively? Do you do it as whoever owns which snakes just works their own thing, but it happens to be under one roof? Or is there overlap? How does that stuff go down?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we had a lot of meetings where we really discussed that. And we honestly kind of got things spread out to where there's some project or gene bases that I kind of work on more. And then there's the ones that John and Jamie work on more. And those are separated enough to where, I mean, we still get together and still discuss it, but we're kind of set that way. And then of course there's a lot of the swapping. Hey, I need something, you know, with red stripe in it that's got clown and a male. Can you send such and such over? We'll do that quite a bit, but yeah, I mean, we're always, it's a group venture for sure. And we're all allergic to failure. So wherever there's somebody is kind of slacking, somebody else just picks up the pace on that. And it's worked out really well. We don't have any big arguments or, you know, people ask that a lot there. I mean, we just don't. Everything just flows pretty smooth, to be honest.
Well, I mean, having met you in person and hung out, I actually wouldn't have thought there was arguments. I just more of the collaboration process and decision-making process. And especially in a world or a niche that really is very subjective. You know, if you ask, I mean, just say the word VPI xanthic and you'll get all sorts of, you know what I mean? And that's just one of the genes or one of the many things you could do with ball python. So it's always intriguing to me. And group dynamics, coming from a world of playing in bands, running restaurants, group dynamics can be exhausting. It can be incredibly fulfilling. And when it's good, it's phenomenal, but it can be incredibly exhausting and hard to navigate. And it doesn't mean people are bad people. Matter of fact, really good people are worried that they would hurt somebody else by voicing their opinion. So you almost have to have like this sweet spot of an honest edge and an incredible care and empathy for things to work right. You know,
that's absolutely true. And I think we've kind of got that in spades, to be honest. I mean, not to brag it up, but I mean, we're really good about being sensitive to each other's likes, dislikes, things like that. And we do disagree on, you know, on genes and things like that. And if I tell John, hey, really want to do something with this, I think, and John says, not, you know, I just don't really care for it. We go, okay, I'm going to do stuff with that gene and then you don't have to be involved in it. Right. And he does the same. I mean, we do come to points where it's like, okay, we don't agree. So we'll just kind of do that portion ourselves and see how it pans out, you know.
Do you see in the future, you know, you said, say you need I think you use red stripe, but say you need something to, you know, a breeder. Do you see in the future that those lines become grayer and more blurred because you're going to have offspring together? And I'm sure there's going to be a point where you go, well, I'm not going to send you $200. Let's just use the animals and make good stuff. Or when they sell, see how it breaks out. How does the future look that way? Or is it just sort of a trust factor right now of, hey, we'll figure that out when we get there kind of thing?
So I think we did kind of touch on that a little bit about how it works already, because it is, in our view, one entity. So like when we look at projects, we look at what goes in and out, it's all banked and set up, and the financial side of it is one entity. So I think those decisions are kind of, like you said, do we have those conversations where we maybe disagree on certain projects or where we should go with the direction? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's a commodity for the business. It's not like Jason's snake or my snake. So those decisions are like, yeah, obviously we need it over there. Yes, definitely pair it for the 2 months. I'll wait on this one and bring it back. So that's all part of that conversation. Um, it isn't that weird division line that I think people will automatically have in their head when you say it's a split collection. There's these animals here, there's these animals here, but it's all under the same Husbandry Pro. It's all tracked through all the software. Our invoices are coming in to both Jason and I, so we both have copies. It's really solidified that way. It's just basically, here's our space, here's what we can do with it, and then for the logistics of it, they've got to be in different areas.
They've got to be two places.
It's 100% fluid. Yeah, like we'll trade animals twice in a week. I'll bring 2 over his way, and I'll go, oh yeah, but I need this mail over here, and he'll stop on a Friday night and drop the mail off. It's just their physical location that's really divided. In our minds, I think the collection is kind of fluid, and it's just works that way. So,
gotcha. And you said something pretty quick that I know people kind of gloss over or maybe get uncomfortable. So if I'm treading too thin, just let me know. But you said that the finances are all one entity. So that would actually make things easier. It's not one person can just take their ball and go home. No pun intended, actually, on that. But that to my previous question, if you've already commingled finances and you got finances sorted out to where it's the business and we're partners in the business versus here's me and we kind of overlap, then it's like any business decision. What are you going to put on the menu? You want chicken tenders or you want chicken wings? You want filet or you want strip? All right, we're going to figure this out and come to an answer, huh?
Yeah. And we started that off, to be completely frank, probably too early, but we did the LLC. How long has it been, John? 4 years?
Yeah, at least. I think it was end of 21 or start of 22, somewhere in there.
And anybody who's done that knows that there's kind of a sweet spot to do that at. And we were really quite a bit too early to start that. I mean, you need to be at a point where you're getting close to, or at least making a profit. Otherwise that can get difficult, right? Real quick.
Well, and there's no liability.
There's no point.
Yeah. There's no point. You're just sort of playing house. Like, and I never mean to be like patronizing to people, but like, I didn't do mine until I think 2 years ago. I mean, you can always claim income. You can claim miscellaneous income a variety of ways, So it always like cracked me up when people are like, I got my LLC. And I'm like, yeah. What are you protecting? What do you need to have limited liability on? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, exactly. But sorry, go ahead. I'm being a jerk.
No, I think the reason behind it wasn't the tax break or the financial side as much as it was having everything listed under an entity where if something happened, if you go to a show and a snake bites a kid because you're not paying attention and they're reaching into your stuff and you end up with a lawsuit, the worst case scenario, you lose your animals. They're not going to come take your house and your car and all your personal items. And that was really the key for getting into it. But again, we would have been smarter probably to hold off a couple of years and then start it, because it got a little sketchy there for a bit.
Well, and I don't think there's really any downside other than the money and the money it takes, and each state is different in what it takes to file an LLC. Some states are nothing. Some states are actually kind of eye-opening what it costs, but and then the paperwork and the tax forms. So, I mean, there's a little extra work. I don't think there's necessarily a downside to doing it. So I'm not really knocking people, but I just see a lot of people. I remember like 2022, it was almost like this like flex on Instagram. We got this, and yes, it's an accomplishment. Yes, it's something cool, but it's like, did you need that right now, or should you just be focusing on cleaning up your space and building your brand? So
absolutely
thoughts for that, but I do think it's interesting, John. Like I say, it really perked up my ears when you guys said, well, the finances are already one entity, because that then becomes a different conversation when people are sitting around the table versus three separate people going, well, I have this and I can put this in, versus we have this. What's the best thing that we can do with it? Or do we need to spend our money to go get something else? It's two different conversations,
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason kind of alluded to that a little bit, because when we initially got this started up, I mean, that was a pretty important point for us to focus on. Let's do the weekly meetings. Just if nothing else, to remind each other, hey, this has got to get done, that's got to get done, or what direction. But I think it's really easy to, I don't want to say slack, but like fall into your rut that everybody's in, and you find out that you're 2 months behind on a decision that somebody in that meeting would have reminded you of or kept you on track. Or, we really started off on the right foot with those going, and now they're not as critical. They're a little more spaced out to, hey, we've got a show coming up, or hey, we've got, 3 clutches that just came out. We really need to sort these. We get together for those events more than just getting in that routine. But right out of the gate, those meetings were really critical. I mean, they did us a ton of good every week. Inevitably, Jason would come up with something in the meeting that I had completely not looked at or didn't think about, or, had we missed that, it could have been a big deal, but that structure and forcing yourself into that mindset right away, I think, is kind of important. It takes, I don't want to say it takes the fun or the relaxation or the enjoyable aspect out of it, but it does kind of center you on, like, there's things that definitely need to happen at a given point. It puts you on a track, if you will, so.
Yeah. A few thoughts. One, a lot of tough things in life, you hear people talk about, like accountability partners, whether it's exercise, weight loss, recovery, studying, all of those things. I mean, you having good people surrounding you. And then the other thing, I mean, Billy's in the audience, but I remember one of Billy's videos years ago when I first was getting going, and he and Austin were doing, egg races and stuff. Billy just ranting into the camera going, if you treat it like a hobby, it'll be a hobby. And if you treat it like a business, it'll be a business. Do whatever you want. No judgment. But if you got an LLC, if you got 3 people, if you got some building that I got to figure out how you guys are paying for this thing, you got to take it seriously. Right. And
Right.
so I actually think, like, so for me as a sole person, not like full SOLE, I'm the
Picture in
lonely
the
person.
Yeah, pro and
right. With the style and the strut. No,
Right.
as the only person, it's why I'm such a fanatic about my budgets and my numbers. That's my accountability partner. And going, oh, it's only February, it's a slow start. That's 1/6 of the year. That's one of 6 segments that if you don't meet those goals, you've already missed it. And you can fool yourself into going, well, I got 10 more months, and then another 2 go by. And then suddenly you're 6 months into the year and you go, I'm not going to make my goals. And can I justify having either left or sacrificed a career or sacrificed time with family or the acreage on your property or anything else you put in? So yeah, I think those meetings, I mean, that says a lot about you guys. I think that's really commendable and important, to be honest. I think that's good for people to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And for clarity's sake, I think, that I don't want to overstate this in a weird way, but it's like, we don't take it as, we all have full-time jobs. We all are completely fine financially outside of this, but it is one of those arenas, one of those areas that it would be really easy to slip into just inordinate spending. And I think it was more that side of it to keep us from falling into that pitfall. Hey, this is beautiful. I need that. It's real easy to do that. And I think whether you're going to do this as a hobby, like you talked about, or a business, I think that, like you mentioned, and that accountability and at least the tracking of that reminds you of reality to some degree. Like, do you need to make a ton on this? No, but you do need to be able to afford it and still take care of your animals in a proper way and maintain that long term. This isn't a short term thing for anyone. I mean, these are 25-year animals. So at the very least, in service to them, have that mindset going in that at least I'm covering my butt here and there's something, real to bounce this back on, because it's super easy to slide down that hill. And I think we see that a lot, unfortunately.
I think we do see it. And I think 2 very, for me, unnatural things, I think for a lot of people unnatural, 2 things required are patience, as you said, this is a long, I mean, one holdback female takes 3 years before you can reliably, not even reliably, you can reasonably expect, like maybe you get lucky at 2, probably do okay at 3 years. But I mean, I remember my very first holdback, she still has never laid an egg for me. And I'm like, so happy every time I see her eat an ASF. I'm like, yes, maybe you're going to go, maybe you'll get something going. But the other thing I think it teaches us, or that you have to be successful, and you touched on it in a little bit of a different way, but it's almost a little bit of a stoic attitude of, you can't control what everybody else has. You can't chase what everybody else has. You can control with your resources what you can do, and you've got to do it for its own beauty in your own place, because you will go broke and maybe nuts chasing. I mean, just look at some of the names in the audience here. If we all tried to keep up with each other, we would all be bonkers broke and insane. And we see that a lot. And I mean, I take it to a certain limit where, like, people will ask me if I saw something on Morph Market. I'm like, no, I don't go there.
I'm not allowed to look this month.
Yeah. And it's not even that I would buy it. It's that I'll ask myself, what the hell am I doing? And then I forget the joy of every time I walk into the facility and I open a tub and I go, that's amazing. Look at that. And I start dreaming this will happen. And this will, comparison takes all that joy away, man. Like, and so sometimes I'm even too far removed. People are like, you got to get more, you're not into it enough. And I'm like, this is me protecting how into it I am, and keeping that safe. So I think you're spot on and really, really insightful on those topics. I've never asked you guys this. What are your backgrounds outside of ball pythons? What forms some of this perspective that you have, and talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
So I guess my background started, I was military, right? Electronics is what I did in the military. So got a decent amount of schooling there. But when I got out, honestly, I got into business for myself. I did some construction work, finally ended up kind of steering back towards the electronics, especially, back when we had the whole housing crisis. That was kind of put a real clamp on the construction.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. So it was time to make a move. Did that. And now I manage a metrology laboratory and some facility stuff for I'm just going to say a big company. I'm not going to say who I work for, but yeah, I manage a lab, so big into the measurement, data analysis. That's kind of my background right now. That's what I'm totally inundated with.
Weather patterns, is that what you're saying?
No, metrology is basically measurement, so calibration, physics laboratories, basically.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay, all right, that's all right. So I'm not familiar with. I heard that and I was like, sometimes people say something different than you're used to hearing. You're like, that guy's really into it. No, okay, so that's a completely different word. Okay, metrology, huh?
Yep.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna go learn more about how I like learning and these new things. Okay, all right. So, but metrics analysis and data analysis you're talking about, at a very fine level, I'm guessing. And you just said physics analysis too, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, John, what about you?
Yeah, super similar. I mean, I went to U of M Duluth for physics. I mean, I started off on that path. I realized that there's no way I want to sit in front of that kind of calculation and daily life. So actually met a girl. I was more into chasing girls and beer in college than I was doing my scholarly thing. So
yeah, I mean, that's why. Okay, go ahead.
Yep.
Right.
I had a kid super early, and I'm like, well, we got to find a way to support this. So I went out of that instantly into a site supervision job for one of the bigger custom home builders in Wisconsin. So did that for 4 or 5 years for them. And again, like Jay talked about, we rolled right into that. What is it? 2007, 2008, right where things were starting to get really rough in the housing and construction.
Right.
So yeah, we kind of both went into that. I did my own general contracting and hired Jason. He had his own contracting and hired me, vice versa, for God, what did we do that for, Jay? Maybe 4 or 5 years going?
Yeah, about 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that got tight. All of these skeleton crews trying to, bid against each other. And of course, you don't have the bankroll that some of these 30-year construction companies have. They can take losses for a year or two while you need to pay things. So
Right.
you can't win those bids. I mean, it was a rough several years there, but yeah, spent a lot of time through construction. And now I do initial quality work for I'll say who I work for. It doesn't really matter. I guess Anderson Windows, but have been at that for several years. So great company to work for. If you need windows and doors, guys, keep me busy. Head to Anderson Windows.
I have to say, one of my few ties to Minnesota, other than my wife, the very first Minnesotan that I met was Paul and Maureen Marvin of the Marvin window family.
Okay, all right. Well, sorry, Paul.
I don't have many loyalties, but I gotta say on this show, it could be an equal swap. It could be a Beatles Stones, and we play a Beatles song, we're gonna hear a Stones song. But if Anderson comes up, I gotta say Marvin. But watch the comments are about to start, like VPI versus TSK here. Just hold on for a second. No,
right,
okay.
Right.
So on a really simple question, where does the Morph Forge come from in the name?
Man, I kind of did that to us, maybe fortunately or unfortunately. So
it works. I didn't know if it was tied to the background. I gotta dig in here. This is where you can't just be superficial here. We got to get to the meat and the potatoes,
So the Forge thing, and we had tossed around a ton of different names, right? But and this is going to sound ultra nerdy, and I guess I really don't care at this point, but I played a ton of MMORPGs. World of Warcraft, EverQuest, was really big in that for a lot of years.
What does MMORP stand for?
Well, it's like the massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Okay, all right,
the actual terminology.
There you go. Nice. Okay.
So yeah, World of Warcraft, EverQuest. Sure. There's a ton of different things under that genre, but played them for years, right? So there's always this fantasy element kind of just floats around in the back of your brain. And I'm thinking about what we do with these animals, right? They've got all the different morphs, and it doesn't really matter if you're doing lizards or snakes or whatever. It's still referred to as morph. We knew we didn't want to do just ball pythons. We wanted to make that fairly general. So the morph side of it wanted to be in there. And the Forge is really kind of doing that. We're forging new pathways.
Yeah.
With the genetics we combine together, it's kind of like working in a forge in a sense, just a genetic forge rather than a steel or metal forge. So
sure.
Just popped in my brain. It kind of rolled off my tongue really nice when I thought it. And I'm like, let's just go with that. I haven't seen forge out there used in anything at that point. And yeah, just odd, but not super meaningful either.
I don't find it that odd. I always was able to make the connection. I just had a vision of one of you guys, swinging, big leather, big leather apron, swinging a 9-pound hammer on on some flaming steel. And it's a little disappointing not to have that come to light, but otherwise it's all right.
Correct.
I got to say thanks
Greg out there too.
Oh yeah. Greg's giving you the
John,
business. Yeah, I know.
Thanks,
I got to say thanks to Chris. I hope that you're doing well, man. I missed you in Iowa. I was hoping I'd see you. I know it's a little bit of a haul, but thanks for a couple bucks in the jar there. And here's what's going to happen is I'm just going to do a solo episode with Jamie. The other guys can have the night off, and we'll get down to the real business with Jamie in a future episode sometime.
Get the truth, right?
That's right. That's what we need there. So, gotcha. How, again, before we kind of get to the facility thing, talk about a little bit of the ways that you guys look at. You talked about two things that I really like: analytics, metrics, but also quality assurance. All joking aside, whether it be Anderson or Marvin, I mean, those are leaders in the industry, icons for a reason, that are nationally recognized. And so quality is something that runs deep, certainly in a company like Anderson. So talk about how that frames how you've approached your ball pythons and your facilities and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and Jason can obviously follow me up. I'll keep my side of it short. I mean, I was always on the team that was, let's not do this half measures. If we're going to do things, let's at least do it with a full intent to do it correctly. I
Right.
think that's just kind of how we were always built.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that we went in and we dumped a ton of money into the top morphs at the time, because we absolutely didn't. In fact, we kind of did the opposite without that target in mind. We've had that conversation a lot of times. Could we? Should we? Could we? Maybe. Should we? Definitely not, in our opinion. Because that's not our market. That's not our goal. Our goal isn't to push this thing to the point where I don't want to say we're not producing interesting or new things, because we'd rather do that than fill market analytics, if you want to call it that. Like, what's the hottest gene? What's really selling? Doesn't really jump on our table that often. It's either we like it or we don't, from, like you said, a quality standpoint. Does it do the things we want to see it do in the animal? Whether it's worth, 10,000 or 200 doesn't really matter to us. Is it doing the things we expect it to do and like about the animal?
Well, a good example of that too would be we've had we've had het pairings where we've got a snake that we may have purchased, a few years back. It was a bargain. It's a het. We'll work it into something, and we've gotten offspring from that or noticed something in it where we could have gone out and bought, the full visual a couple of years later and jumped ahead in a project, and we're not doing that because we really like this and we want to continue that. And then, it takes us a couple more years, but we'll get that and we'll feed that into our projects versus buying something that you're really not sure about. So, I mean, that does come into play, and we have had a couple of those way from the beginning, just got lucky on a few things. So,
well, if you talk about what's the hot thing selling, I think just by, and Jason, you might even be able to talk more quantifiably towards this, but mathematically and analytically, if it's the hot thing selling now, it's nearly impossible for that.
yeah.
If you like it, by all means buy it and create your own thing from it. If you're buying it because it's the hot thing and that's what's going to turn around for you, it doesn't work. The time in the market and really, really simple economics of supply, oversupply, and saturation, or working towards saturation doesn't make that work. So I'm not saying not to buy what's hot. I'm saying if you buy something, it should be something you're excited about and you have a hope or a vision or a joy. Even if you don't have a vision for it, it just makes you pumped to open the tub, because then you'll be inspired to find the joy in the vision. But am I wrong there on the analytics thing, or is there a window I'm not thinking of?
No, I think, unless, you're playing Nostradamus, which I think we all try to do because that's kind of the fun in the game, right? You're trying to guess what's going to be that thing,
right?
And getting on it before it's like you said, once it's that thing, if you're not within a pairing of producing it, you might as well move on because you've missed the boat. And we figured that out. It took us a few years because we kind of got in right before that huge upswing in market, right? And so we're looking at it. We didn't know a lot about it, and we kind of thought exactly what you're talking about. Well, this is the thing that's really doing it. We just need to buy some of those. Well, we did that on a couple things, and by the time we got to the point of making it,
we're all guilty of that. Yeah, exactly. We all think we could beat that curve, right? Like right. That's one of the big. Everybody says you're a breeder when you hold your one back and it makes eggs. I think you're a breeder when you get over that part of you're like, that ain't gonna work. I'm gonna have to do my own thing and figure this out the long way. There's no shortcuts kind of deal, right?
Well, yeah, and good examples of that is when you go to the most well-known people. You go look at Ozzy's stuff, and you go look at Kabilka's stuff, and you understand that they're making things that other people are also making, but the quality is better because what they did is they focused on it regardless for X amount of time. They kept the best stuff. They kept bringing it back. And they make the best stuff. It's that simple. And I think anybody that's out there that does that is going to create their own market. I really feel like that's true.
I tend to agree with you. And I think it's even that way outside of snakes. I was I was driving today, and for some reason, it's a band that I play some music with sometimes. They are one of like the most like, I couldn't even really describe. They describe themselves as like nautical, maritime, northern, North Atlantic, Scots, Irish, Celtic. And I'm like, how do you get a gig? And they're phenomenal. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's because they don't quit. They practice excellence. They deliver on what they say that they are. And to boot, they're pretty good people, and they work their butts off. They play 4 or 5 gigs a week here in the cities. It's unbelievable. And I remember like driving going, well, if they could do that, I could do some cool stuff with super gravel. Like, I got an easier path than them. So I think that there's a lot. And I think it becomes more and more true. The other thing is like, even just this weekend in Des Moines, the stuff I sold was stuff that nobody else had in the room. And it's not because it's the most amazing, crazy, expensive thing. It very specifically, it was super banana gargoyle projects. I think they're cool. I'm passionate about it. I can show people what they grow into and how they change colors over the time. And those got me to say it. I mean, those made my weekend this weekend. And so like, I think a lot about that stuff. And I'm like, I truly do believe that it's not just like lip service to say, you got to be passionate and excited about what you're doing. I think I think we have a very similar investment, Snake. If conversationally, you guys mentioned it one time. So, but one thing that is very popular or in certain circles right now is the scrambler gene or project or whatever it is that we figure out eventually. For me, investing in that, I was so blown away by how the snakes look. And when you were talking about the quality, just the super high contrast, the saturated colors, and the changing of the pattern, I said, honestly, I don't care if it stays hot or not. I can stare at those snakes all day long, the excellent examples of them. So I invested, for me, quite a lot in that project. And I'm just
totally happy with it, right?
Yeah. I mean, to quote my 17-year-old self, I'm stoked about that, man. I'm just, that's one of those, I just opened the tub just to look at it. I'm like, there you are, dude, that guy got you. I can't believe it, So what, you guys have one though too, right? From Mark Mandic?
Yes. Yeah. We got ours. I went a little bit different route when he released his list for that selling. He had obviously a lot of scrambler stuff on there. Jamie's a big pied person. The scrambler is awesome in pied. It adds pattern, it adds brightness, it cleans things up. It's just I think going forward it's going to be kind of a must in some really nice pied combos. But the one we picked also had his Java gene in it, which I hadn't seen worked a lot.
Nice bonus. Okay. I forgot you guys had that. Yeah. Doubled up.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And that kind of swayed me more so than just the scrambler, because I really feel like we do try to do that. I don't want to say we're being super innovative or anything else, but we really like to offer like that little something different in the combinations.
Right.
But we'll focus on some of the regular standard stuff. Like Jason loves Mojave, but when we get Mojave mixed in with the lace, with, some other things you don't generally see it with, people open their eyes again to that old gene. So long as it's not doing something detrimental in the result, right?
Sure.
So you can see that happen, right? Get the wrong genes together and you get a result you just don't care for. Well, you go a different direction, right? But
yeah,
I think a lot of that is missing. We see a lot of the same stuff on tables. You'll see the red stripe spot nose, yellow belly, clown, red stripe spot nose, yellow belly, this, red, you always see these combinations that, do they work together great? Absolutely. But would you like to see some other strange kicker or a different side avenue looked at? Absolutely. So
it's a balance, because some of that is just like, a red striped spot nose clown is just undeniably cool. Like for somebody who's never seen one, it's just, they're like, what is that? They didn't realize that there's 99 others in the room, but they're like, so there's this balance of like, that's freaking amazing is why it's so overworked or worked. I don't even know if overworked is right. But then there's also the how do you do something different or take off on that
twist.
or make that different? Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's kind of our thing. Honestly, we'll look for those projects and we'll look for those kind of standards, if you want to call them that. We definitely want them. We want to incorporate that because they look fantastic. We know the result already, but if it's got an odd kicker or it's short one and something different, we're always going to go that route every time. Whether
Sure.
that means it's a, $300-400 difference or $1,000 difference, depending, we'll make that decision 9 times out of 10 to take that oddity,
Do you have like any sort of guiding projects or things that I call it North Star, kind of a North Star, like that's my guiding light. That's all things still have to lead back to that. It could be a really long road, but I want it to get back to that one thing or 2 things or a couple things. Do you guys have anything like that at this point yet, or anything that you've just gotten so passionate about where you're like, that's the path for me?
I wouldn't say anything specific as far as like a end result. For me, I think, well, John will vouch for this for sure, but I really, really like Desert Ghost. But I like it without the washout. So I'm working on that, right? Trying to figure out combinations that really give you that Desert Ghost without the fade or the chalkiness of it. And lace, I really am excited always about a new lace pair, getting lace into something else. So working on that quite a bit. But yeah, as far as like an end goal, not a lot. I've got a few things that, I picked up a really nice snake from a guy named Adam in Eau Claire. And that was a plug-in for me, right? Yeah. That's a plug-in for me. So I would like to make some super gravel clowns with lace. I just want to see it. I may see it and go
that too.
Yeah, I may see it and go, yeah, I'm not going to make any more of those, but I honestly think it'll look great. So
I think it'll look great too. Yeah, I think it will too. John, what about for you? Is there something that just makes you tick or keeps you going, or you're just like, I got that itch that won't go away on this one?
Yeah, there's always those bases that I came into this whole thing really liking when I first saw the examples. I love the Xanthic clown stuff. And I think in 21, I started to kind of become familiar with what lace, Jason touched on it already, lace was doing with animals. So we started back then putting lace into our Xanthic stuff to go that route. So my goal animal really is to get that multi-stack lace Xanthic clown animal. I think it's going to be, at least in my mind, I think that's going to be a little bit game changing from what we are seeing. Even though the DG Xanthic stuff looks fantastic, I still feel like you get a little bit of what Jason's saying. It takes down the blacks, not a ton, but it definitely backs those off a hair to get that cleanliness and all that bright. I think lace does the exact opposite. I think lace holds those contrasts really well. Does it clean a lot of the clutter out of there like DG does? Not quite, but I do think it's going to do enough in the right combos that 4 or 5 codoms into that lace Xanthic clown is going to be insane. I think I started looking at that way back and I thought like that was my trajectory. So I'm still chasing that frustratingly, but I'm still chasing it. We just don't seem to get the sex ratio that we need to really push it fast, but they're still being produced. So,
my co-host on Thursday mornings, Joe, he believes firmly that often the anticipation is better than the thing, and he thinks that's what keeps us crazy ball python people go. We never actually hit where we want to get to, or where we want to get to is 25 years later. So we spend these decades of anticipating. And I kind of I'm okay with that. I think it's cool, and we get these cool experiences along the way. Got to say thanks to Kane. I will tell everybody about Keeper Kane in just a moment. One of the challenging things of having by the way, you guys are doing great. I worry so much when there's two guests that there's dead air. So if there's only one guest and there's dead air, I just charge on. But if there's two, I got to make sure, because you guys are making sure you're not stepping on each other's toes, and I got to make sure I'm not cutting somebody off. But you guys are doing great. So I appreciate it very much on that. But one of the other challenges is we don't get a chance to showcase the advertising partners that keep the lights on here and support us. So I'm going to play with this layout for a second. Audience, don't go anywhere, because we're going to dive into their facility that's coming up. And this isn't like, oh, we bought a little shed at Lowe's and we're making a facility. No, this is multi-zoned in-floor radiant heat boilers and switches in the boiler. I saw the pictures. I like it. I'm jealous. I thought I was doing good to get me one. And then I see you guys. I was like, oh, that's really even way nicer. Let me play with this layout for a second though, and see. Okay, that gives them like half, but then that makes you little. I don't want that. I want to be little. Oh, okay, that's almost good. All right, here's what I'm going to do. Much like Jamie puts people on the hot seat, I'm going to kick one of you off the Proper Royals seat, and the other one is stuck with me while I cut the promos, because if I take you both off, we can't see any of them either. So one of you is sticking around. Out of here, John. Don't go far though. I'm gonna have you back. I promise. So guys, all joking aside and logistics aside, these are companies that from our world, from our hobby, from our industry, that are supporting our hobby and our industry. And I will say they are supporting us through challenging markets, through very good markets. So many of these advertisers have been working with me for years and years now, and even the newest advertisers are coming up on a year. So I'm so thankful for that. I'm proud to tell you about them. Everybody's description is down below. We're coming to you ad-free on all Proper Royals live content from Palm Street. It's a great live selling platform. You should go check that out. If you've heard about live selling, let me tell you, Palm Street does an excellent job of it. Did you guys, let me ask you, because this is real world stuff here. Like, people get worried about prices and nickels and pennies a little bit too much. Did you have an animal stuck in Memphis when news broke that there was a hazmat spill? Would you have liked to have a shipping company that you could call up and they have contacts at FedEx and they can go get your animals and account for them and put them in an office and have them secured? That is why I use Redline. It's the service standpoint of it. It's an active team with institutional knowledge of the shipping industry. Go check out Redline. That's a real world, just me on my soapbox. They didn't even pay for that part of it. That's just me telling you exactly how I feel. But go check out Redline. The user interface is fantastic. Get yourself $5 off your next shipping label. Use the promo code PROPER5. If you're not aware, shedtesting.com. I've worked with Charlie Williams for a long time now, a couple of years now. Recently, he formed a new business. I'm not sure how all the business shook out, but he is now phenome.com, and much bigger enterprise. New partners have entered the scene. They're doing a whole lot in outside of ball pythons. It's a genetics company, but shed testing is still available and still done by Charlie. So go check out shedtesting.com there, who I recommend the most and that I trust with the results the most. So go check out shedtesting.com. Sundog Serpents, that's Sarah and Josh from down in Orlando in Florida, people that I have known, worked alongside, at least in this hobby, in this industry, grew up next to. We used to vend together in Central Florida on the Repticon circuit. I have snakes of theirs. They have snakes of mine. And we've got some breeding projects up our sleeves this year too. So please go check out Sarah and Josh at Sundog Serpents. Hot off the presses from Sundog. They got zebras and zebra combos, axanthic zebra ingredients as well. Stranger hypo clown combos, axanthic clowns. They work TSK. So if you're looking for an axanthic and the TSK project, go see Sarah and Josh at Sundog Serpents. Hypo ultramelpide, hypo axanthic pied project ingredients as well. Those are available now. Those are clutches that are have hatched and hatchlings that are ready to go for you. So if any of that rings your bell, go check them out. Reagan Renee Royal Pythons, that is Charlie Ryan. He is out in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. go check out his website, reaganrene.com. You don't have to put the Royal Pythons. He's got a few things going on there. First, all of his inventory is there. If you buy from the website there, it's free shipping on everything. If you remember to use the promo code Proper10, he's going to give you another 10% off of any animal that you purchase there at the site. He's also got these very cool free value add calculators that he works on. Speaking of analytics and data, Charlie, I'm not exactly sure what he does 100%. And I know that's not a great pitch in the middle of the promo, but he works in big mass production and studies quality assurance, analytics, and metrics incredibly and at an incredible level. And he has applied that to some calculators that he has put on his site from a genetics and pairing standpoint, and also from a value add for testing standpoint. So go check that out. Pretty cool stuff. Doesn't cost anything extra. And on the value stuff, you have to put in your own valuation. So it's not even, other than your own speculation, it's not speculative or predictive outside of that. So check those out. Keeper Kane, that's Kane and Michelle Fritz Wallace there in Tennessee. They have a YouTube channel. You're already on the platform. Right after the show, go check out Keeper Kane. You're going to see all of Kane's documented adventures with his animals. He's definitely an active ball python breeder. If you're in any Patreon or group chats, you've probably come across Kane. He's very active in the community, good member of the community. But on his YouTube channel, he's talking about his ball pythons, his aquatics, his big snakes, his tarantulas, and now his I think it's a rodent facility, but maybe a whole new facility and building rodents. So it's all documented there. It's a guy and his wife and a couple just making it and enjoying the hobby and enjoying themselves. Always safe for work, always safe for families to watch too. That's Keeper Kane. Check that out. Last but not least is Chris at BNS Reptilia, the original advertiser on Proper Royals. See that little guilt trip? That's what keeps him on. He gets me. I get to say that every time. If he goes away, he loses that title. I'm eternally grateful. I vend Tinley with Chris. He's the business partner at Tinley in October, and he's Reptilia because he has ball pythons, blood pythons, locality, boas, colubrids of all shapes and sizes, Pituophis, the bull snakes and the pine snakes. He's got the permits, the education. He'll know the laws of where you're at to know if you can have them and give you the education to care for them and own them legally and safely and all the right things that you should be doing. That is Chris at BNS Reptilia. If you missed it before, Tinley is next weekend. All the way back, all the way to the left, you will find the Proper Royals table, very back left corner of the room. Might not sound advantageous to be there, but ask anybody else trying to describe where their table is. I got it easy. Go all the way back, go all the way left. Come see me. Come hang out at Tinley. Also, I didn't announce earlier, which I should have, missed the opportunity. Next Tuesday night right here will be Chris Eaton himself. The Fat Man is back. He's got Jay from Greenline Morphs with him, and they're going to be talking about the current Deeds Not Words initiative. And I would bet, I don't bet much, but I'd wager that Chris has some hot takes and topics that you will be intrigued by anyhow. So come join the chat, come join the conversation for next week. Tonight, hanging out with Jason and John from Morph Forge. If you're just joining, if you haven't caught the show from the very beginning, you should. There's a lot of really great insight, down to earth guys. Oh my goodness, I switched up where you are. There we go. I was right back in the world again. I didn't catch that trying to engage the camera here. So an audience, I didn't say thank you to you all. Thank you all. I appreciate you being here. I do keep an eye on the chat, and I'm not great with all the shout outs and everything. I know that, but I do see it and I appreciate you. And that's what keeps me going almost 5 years in here on Tuesday night. So thanks very much. Gentlemen, thank you for hanging out through the break there. Tell me about this facility. And it is I love specs. I love seeing how stuff is laid out. I was not joking. I geeked out when I saw the post you made of the various switches and valves on your water system or your heat system so that you can have zones. And I was like, once the concrete's poured, that's too late to change. But that's really, for me, I'm saying a really nice job for you guys. Tell us about this facility and some of the things that went into it, decision-making on that.
Yeah. So kind of talked a little bit earlier about what, kind of spurred it on. So it was really a combo deal. We need the space. I have to get the snakes into something else. We need to get the rats into something that where we can actually produce what we want to produce. And I needed a garage, if I'm being quite frank. I've lived here for 20 years. I've had my car parked out in the snow every winter, work on it out there, the whole deal. And just never really flipped the switch on the garage thing. So it just kind of made sense. We need both things. Specs wise, so the whole building is a 48 by 48. It's kind of split in half down the center, right? So about 24 feet in, the garage ends, and then the rest is a combo of the snake portion and the rat room. And then that is split almost in half. The rat area is bigger, just makes sense to do that, right? But
so you've got, just spitballing here, you got about 1,000 square feet for animals.
Yeah,
a little more, maybe closer to 1,200. Well, the whole thing,
it's
25.
Yeah, it's probably closer to about 1,400 for animals.
Yep.
And the snake side. So when we first set it up, we looked at, well, we should probably go with a size where we could put all the animals in there. So we kind of did that as a footprint, which worked out better actually. But and John and Jamie were like, we really don't need to move. Like John said, he's got ideal situation where he's at. It's in a good spot. It's plenty big enough. It's easier for them to still be able to enjoy and work with the animals rather than drive all the way over, because this is on adjoining
Right.
property to me, which allows me then to break up that snake area. And so I can actually build a totally separate quarantine area instead of just going, hey, the quarantine racks are over in that corner and the rest of the stuff's here, right?
Right, which is usually the reality, and understandably, yeah.
Yep. So I can build out a quarantine area, can also build out a completely separate hatchling area, which is important. I mean, I do that here, and John and Jamie do too. We really separate hatchlings from the adults, because quarantine's no guarantee. I don't care what anybody says, man. A snake can make it for 4 to 6 months, and then all of a sudden something shows up and you've already moved that into your collection. So keeping those babies separate, super important, because the odds of something passing from an adult to a hatchling, especially if you're pulling eggs and putting them into an incubator, are really, really slim. So those babies are pretty safe, especially if you keep everything separate. So that's going to happen. And, I was out there this fall and calculating, and I think I'm going to be able to move my quote unquote studio that I'm sitting in now out to there as well, which would be really nice to build an actual room just for both our YouTube, shooting live video, and for doing my photos and things on that end in an actually nicely lit room, not makeshift. I'm in my office now. That's where we do everything from in the house. We've all got our spots, and we've got kind of our makeshift stuff set up, and it works. But
welcome to the basement. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you can make it your own, but if you have the opportunity to create a space, I think that's very cool. 1,400 square feet is big. I was just thinking about the first home that I ever bought in Florida was, I think it was 1,412 feet. And that was a 3-bedroom house, man. Now, not a big one. And it was a small, starter family home. That's a big place. So I realize half of it will be a garage. How many animals are we talking here? Give us some specs on like collection size and where you're at and where you're going. What goals do you have in that building?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as snakes go, we were actually just talking about this a few days back. I think honestly, number wise, we're always moving somewhere between 200 and 300, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about it because at one point we're like, oh, we need to buy more racks and we need to get, and I think, John, speak up if you don't agree, but I mean, just in that conversation, we're pretty.
Well, I'll stop you if you say 800 or something. I'll stop you right in your tracks.
Right. We're pretty comfortable where we're at, and with the mix of genes, and it's really more at this point the mix and match. We really went diverse on the number of genes that we've got, and we can almost do anything we want with some exceptions where, maybe you don't have the right sex combo, but for the most part, we're pretty good. So no growth there. The rats is where we need to really increase. So we've gotten to a point where I think we could probably maintain or be really close to maintaining the entire collection with the rats, but there's no extras.
Yeah.
And the rats are a moneymaker, especially ASFs and up in this area. So it just makes sense to get those in there, multiply the number of racks we got going on. I mean, we could easily quadruple without any issue at all, and do it more comfortably in the new facility than where they're at now. So that's going to be the main goal.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, congratulations on that. I think for anybody listening, there's different ways to go about it. So I remember my first company I ever worked for was Ruby Tuesday. And the rubies I worked at that I started with was literally one of the biggest rubies that had ever been built. It was an experimental, hey, we're gonna have an actual like bar scene and a bar restaurant, and then the kitchen to go with it. And then one of the next, I worked for them for 10 years. So I got really deep into this stuff. Fast forward 4 or 5 years, I get out of college. The first rubies I'm managing felt like a submarine in the kitchen. There was no extra space. I mean, we had to learn a new way of cooking side by side with a partner versus front and back, because usually there would be somebody selling and somebody cooking. In this one, we had to work side by side and pass left and right instead of front to back. I say all that because I remember asking, a vice president or somebody came through, and I was like, what in the world are you guys doing in this place? He says, now again, this was 25 years ago. He says, that store, the big one, we have to do $45,000 a week to break even just to get to zero. He says, this store, we only have to do $17,000 a week to break even. Yeah. And I said, and it's always has stuck with me. So I don't have a separate room for quarantine, a separate room for hatchlings. My racks surround my dish pit because I figure the humidity coming off of the dish is great right there, and I'm a nut for a good sink, so I had to have that. I was not gonna spare anything on that. But that's kind of neat because I'm at, like you say, you kind of always fluctuate between two. I fluctuate between 200 and 300, and by October it might even be at like 350 because of the hatchlings. But to your point as well, I'm maxed out. I can't fit another rack in there. I don't want to fit another rack in there. I have plenty to work with. I'm maxed out on what I can handle as a one-man show, but there's plenty in that room to make the most amazing things for the next 20 years, and right. I'm not saying I'll never buy anything, but it will be a one out, it has to be at that point purposeful of one's got to come out if I'm going to have another one come in. And really even more likely is if I'm going to have a breeder come in, that means I got a holdback that I got to get out of there. And so I'm at the point now where it's got to be really, really, really thoughtful and purposeful. And otherwise it's doing the thing and maximizing what I do have in there and bringing out all to life. So I'm excited on it. Let's talk ASFs for a minute, because I'm a nerd about those too. I love them. What's your preferred colony setup? What do you find works the best for you? What's your routine? What do you guys do on them? What's your workflow look like on these? I see some smirks. Jason? We got some secrets or something here. I
was like Jason.
John and Jamie are mainly doing that, and they literally just. Well, not just, but they've recently changed that up. So I'm anxious to hear too, Adam.
Okay, nice. All right. Well, in that case, hang on.
Yeah, right.
Where's John? Here he is. I was going to make him big. I screwed it all up. There we go. That's what I was trying to accomplish.
Now I'm finally comfortable in this show. It feels. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, the ASF are strange, right? So we started really small with the ASF. I think we grabbed 24. something like that, maybe 24 when we started. And this was what, Jay, 22, end of 22?
Yeah, about 22. Yeah.
Somewhere in there where I'm like, well, we got to get these going. We're going to just do this. We had heard all kinds of different input about how these things work best. What's the colony sizes? So we
everybody's got their own. I love asking this because everybody's got their own. Like, well, let me tell you. Like,
yes, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we got kind of lucky out of the gate because they were not the devil rats that everybody talks about. They were always relatively mild and non-aggressive. I got bit once right out of the gate, but I mean, I just reached in there and picked this female up. I kind of asked for it, and they were relatively new, right? So, since then, yeah, none of those issues, but we started on the high end. We started with larger tubs, like a 24-inch by 24-inch tub. I think it's the FB15s, which is fairly common. But we did the 2 to 14, 2 to 12, or 2 to 14 in those tubs.
Really? Okay.
So really large colonies. They did okay.
Yeah.
They weren't really cramped for space. I mean, it's a 2 foot by 2 foot area, so they had a lot of room in there. They kind of did their thing. But we recently moved now from that system where we had backed it down. We went from 2 to 12 down to like a 1-8 in the same tubs, just stayed with that. But we found a little better productivity with the 1 to 8 kind of situation, sometimes 2. What I will say for those people out there with ASFs is pre-start your colony with a really young male, like pre-sex male, before they're to the age where they can reproduce. Get that male in with those females and accustom. We run into that over and over where it's really borderline. They hit that age where they're about to start that breeding process, and the females will flat out reject that male.
And by rejecting it is a really nice way. They reject it from this world.
Yeah. We're keeping this Fritz Wald, Kane and family
exactly.
oriented.
Yes.
And they absolutely will. So the earlier you can do that and actually get those separated into that living colony, that is something that's required. These colonies are something that's static. You're not going to jostle those around. No. You're not going to add a female or a male. Once you've created that, you are set with that group. So doing that right out of the gate, the best bet is to hit that male when it's, and I'm going to use grams here because we kind of go by that rather than some other indicator. It almost wants to hit in that 50 gram range up to maybe 65 for the male. And that's ideal to introduce to that female group. If you get beyond that, it's almost like he's ready. They don't know him. They're not going to allow that. You know what I mean? And that an introduction can be pretty rough.
Yeah.
But all that aside, go ahead.
I do. I don't even. Sorry, not to get real. I'm saying I don't even think there's a time that's too early. If you could spot that it's a male and you could spot that they're females, whether they're in the grow out pen or they're in a colony, if I have an open colony slot, I go ahead and I fill it and I just wait till they come up and I mark when they when they first lay or
when they first produce.
First produce. Yeah. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, and we're kind of in that situation, except it's really cyclical for us. We're in a tight space. We do have that limited rack. Now, we did go to the Vision racks, which I would recommend to anybody. We did the Freedom Breeder, looking at those. We looked at the ARS. I really am a strong believer that Vision Ultra system is the way to go, at least for us. That's proven to be the case. They've probably doubled in production since we went down to like a 1.5-1.6 colony.
And and on those Vision Ultras, really nice racks, by the way. But what tub size did you go with on those? Did you go with the 35s or the 18s?
We did the 35 S's.
The shorts, the 35 shorts. Nice.
Yeah. And all right, across the board.
Now I'm really, you got me hooked now. How big of the Vision Ultra did you go with? Because you could go like 5 wide, and I think you could go as like high as like 12 high.
Right. So we did the mid range there. We went 7 high, 4 wide.
Okay.
To accommodate the space. So we wanted to test it out. We hadn't seen them in person.
Right.
There was nowhere to go look at them or check them out. So we ordered it thinking, well, if this is going to work for us, we've got room for 2 of those side by side where we're at right now. Yeah, and the one replaced 6 of the homemade racks and doubled what we were producing. So like already instant gain just on that change.
That's what, if I can interrupt you, that whether it's Vision, whether it's ARS, whether it's Freedom Breeder, the efficiency of space that those racks provide, I get it. If you don't have the couple grand to spend, I'm not knocking that. I'm with you. But if you could buy one used, what's the expression? Buy a hook or buy crook. Go get you a rodent rack instead of building them, because it'll pay for itself so quick. Overproduce and sell them. I mean, you'll be so happy, and it's less work, it's less pain and wear and tear, and just go to it, man. And I think why I'm kind of geeking out about the Vision Ultra is because I've just been looking so closely at it. I can get 60 big, I would do 2.6, but I can get 60 2.6 ASF colonies where I have 24 right now in the same footprint. Yeah. Unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of how we did that too. So now those older racks in that space that would take the second Vision are still there, but that's purely grow out stuff. So all our colonies are in that 28 stack, which we literally went from, I want to say maybe 90 to 120 to close to 300 a week pulling out of there.
Yep.
And these are great, healthy. Even that has improved. Like their process as far as separating them from their mess and their food and their water and how they organize in that tub is like, you pull it out and it looks like it's structured.
Oh,
like
very nice.
All babies. They've got their little mess in the front, right next to the water in the front corner. They do their business. They pee, they poo all in one spot. And it's like you're pulling out a pre-organized little perfect tub, and the production is just across the board perfect. But we did do some feed changes too. So we do use Kalmbach.
Yep.
I think Kalmbach's a fantastic base food, but we supplement now. When we do the weans, we pull the weans out as soon as we can tell their ears are popped, their eyes are open. If they're moving around fairly good, we pull them, because that does stress the moms. They've got extra milk they're putting out. They've got harassing the other babies for space on the mom, whatever the case. We saw a lot of loss there when we weren't getting those weans out quick enough. But they instantly go to a sweet feed. That's a sheep and goat sweet feed mix with road oats.
Oh,
that goes right in the tub with them twice a week. We can put a nice little pile, so they've got easy access to that. Definitely need the rollerball water bottles. So don't think you can skip that and go to like a regular, water nozzle. They can't operate that when they're so small. You definitely need the little rollerball. You will get a bunch of loss there from dehydration, chewing on each other because they're thirsty. They can't get that needle to work.
Interesting. I do use the nipples on mine, but maybe I leave them a little bit longer, maybe. But,
Yep. These are really borderline. They barely could be away from mom. But again, it's like these little fine tunings we found over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's like, that is ideal. You get them out as early as you can. Get them on a roller ball where they just have to touch it with their nose and they get instant water. Little things like that make a big difference, at least in our production of them.
Right.
So
it's
fun, man. I like it actually. Jay's like, no thanks, but
I like I have to admit, I like the ASFs as well. The dust and the exhaust and the air flow that is required is tough, especially year round in a very harsh climate where we are at. And it messes with the temperatures and the fluctuation in the rest of the facility. Those are things that I work very, very hard at. I probably, unbelievably, other than racks and snakes, I have more money in that facility of mine in airflow than anything else, including a commercial air exchanger that is overkill. I think it's rated for something like 10,000 cubic. No, I think it's rated for 10,000 square feet. The inspector made me get, and it's the smallest one that they have that's rated commercial because he wouldn't let me get a residential one. And my whole place is under 500 square feet. I'm like, what are you doing?
That's the next
That's
the next big adventure too, Adam, on the facility is the air exchange. So kind of the plan there, and what may work out in our benefit. Obviously, we need the exhaust. But we can pull from the garage. So the whole thing's heated, like you were alluding to, they're zoned, right? So the garage would be 55 degrees in the winter, but pulling 55-degree air into the rat room versus pulling minus 20-degree air, I think is going to be hopefully the saving grace on that air exchange, not losing the heat.
Oh, I think so. To be honest, on the rodent side, I'd be thrilled to pull in the 20-degree air. And this is like a really good exercise in doing the best with what you got. And we all have different situations. So those of y'all that haven't heard this story, you'll just have to go to another episode to recap. I don't have time to tell the whole story. So I have a car wash. My reptile facility is a converted bay of the car wash. My fresh air intake is from the pump room, which, like you're saying, it stays at around, actually today it got up to 65, but it stays around, even at the coldest time, around 52, 53. So, but I'm pulling that into the reptile side instead of the rodent side. And it's just the way that it's laid out and how things came to be where my fresh air could come in, because the alternative was just pulling it straight from outside. So I have some tempered air on that. But yeah, so in the wintertime, I turn the air exchanger on in mid-afternoon in the warmest part of the day. In the summertime, I run it overnight in the coolest time of the day. And it's a tempered air exchange, but that tempered only does so much. I mean, you can only fight high and low temperatures so much. And then I have a traditional just grow room exhaust that's moving 500 CFM as well. I mean, I am blowing air out of there at a pretty good click, and then just industrial fans down from the corners as well. So, but keeping them happy, the airflow, I still struggle to keep them under 84, 85 degrees. Those things put off some heat, especially as I continue to expand. So keeping them, bringing in cool air wasn't ever what got me fearful. It was the heat in the summertime. I actually had an easier time this winter than I did this past summer.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, when is the completion on the facility? When do you get to move in? When do you get to enjoy all the hard work and, do your unveiling video?
Yeah. So hopefully thinking midsummer. The plan was to try to get out there. What are you going to do during the winter? Well, we found lots of stuff to do other than work on the facility. So got to start hitting that pretty hot and heavy. There's a lot to do out there yet. So yeah, the target is hopefully midsummer.
Okay. All right. That's still ambitious. It's March already. So you got you got to get going. So, well, I can't wait to see it. Clowning around Python said, what's your opinions on using tub liners for reptile racks? If I had all the time in the world and I could manage it, I would use paper towels or tub liners. I wouldn't use substrate. I think the bacteria, just from a food and beverage background, drives me crazy. These days I do use aspen for substrate, and obviously everybody's successful on cocoa. But if I had it my way, and I did for years, up until only about a little over a year ago, every one of my animals was on paper towel, and every time it's soiled, I just changed it. Not just clean the liner, change the whole tub, go right over to the dish pit, put a new tub, and put that one into the dishes. So that would be my preference, but I outgrew the ability to do that. It was taking up too much labor, and I hired somebody to keep up with me on it. And I was like, I can't, this doesn't make sense. So there's my opinion on that. What would you guys say? I took that one, but
I would 100% agree. I mean, other than hatchlings got to go on paper towels, man. Otherwise it would just be a futile effort to try to keep any kind of cleanliness in there.
Mm-hmm.
They are just constantly going, but yeah, no, I agree. It'd be really nice to be able to do the tub liners, but it's Yeah, it's a lot. We're working with either cocoa or cypress.
Yep.
I think we may end up all on cypress. It seems to work really well. John and Jamie have been doing it quite a bit, and I'm at a point now where it's maybe time to change over. But
yeah, I like the aspen. The thing I get asked the most is how do I maintain humidity with aspen in Minnesota? You'll find, I think, my experience has been with the radiant floor heat in a closed cell spray foam. There's no I do not struggle with humidity. I don't pump any extra humidity in there. And there's days in the wintertime that I just have to pump in fresh air to dry it out because it gets so thick in there, especially when I'm trying to, it's kind of crazy. The very coldest days are when I have the highest humidity because that's when I have the lowest amount of fresh air coming in because of the cold temps on it. So I actually when I change waters, I spray the aspen, but not much because it'll mold pretty quick if you spray it very much. So I actually use I run an ambient humidity in the 60%. I don't worry about it. It's not a problem. So it's another work with what you got. You find out your surroundings and you maximize the availability on those. So those are what work for me. Where can people find you if they want to hang out with you on platforms? Where are you selling at? What shows are you vending? Where can they see in person? Somebody asked if you're going to Tinley. What do you got on your calendar?
Yeah, I mean, we do definitely local shows. We're going to hit probably the pet fair stuff. We're going to do the cold bloodeds this year over at the fairgrounds. We're going to hit.
You're coming over to Minneapolis. I should be able to say it by now. Minneapolis.
Yep. We're going to be doing that one this year. We've got a gecko acquaintance that's in the Twin Cities, Shedded Out Geckos, that she's going to bring some of her stuff. We are going to register that with them when we go to do that because she's got a really large leopard gecko collection. Okay. So we'll be doing kind of a split scenario there. Our snakes, Jamie's geckos and her geckos. So the scaled up expos with all over the Wisconsin side of things. So we're probably going to hit the Wausau Rothschild one again. I don't think we're going to go down to the lacrosse. Some of those get a little bit long for us. Right. And I honestly think stock might be a bit of an issue. We have so much holdback this year that if everything goes the way it should, we don't want to let go of a bunch this year, I guess is the idea. Hopefully that's going to be byproduct this year, which would be really nice. But yeah, and then just come see us every week. We're on every week on YouTube on our show, right? No Remorph. We've been doing that for a couple of years. It's a lot of fun. We get all kinds of people from super classy people from proper royals all the way down to scumbags like Chris over at Fat Man Nation. We got the whole gambit.
Man, that wasn't even
I'm
at that time.
No, I know he's gonna chew me up later for that.
We put it this way: we've both got you fooled if that's what you think. All right,
right.
But yeah, no, it's a fun show, and we plan to go into season 3. There's going to be a lot of changes, guys. So I don't mean to overtake this whole thing and just really take the pulpit here, but season 3 is going to be fun. We've got big changes coming to the show. Two weeks of the month are going to be a completely alternate show, and then the same No Remorph the other 2 weeks. So look out for that, and just hit us up on Instagram. Anything you want, need, vice versa, holler.
Wednesday nights, 8:00.
There we go. And what on YouTube? What platform?
Yep, YouTube. We do
Morph Forge
simulcast. Yep. Morphforge.com.
Great. Guys, if you haven't seen the show, go check it out. I had on my notes, and if you look at the thumbnail, I had on my notes to jump into community building in the show. We didn't even get to it. I got to get them back to come talk about that in the future. But it's really fantastic what they're doing, and it is already original. I don't know what changes you got coming, but I found it to be original and refreshing, not just some other dudes in their basement with a microphone, so I thought it was really great, and keep it up, guys. Thanks for coming to hang out tonight. Always a pleasure, genuinely. One of these days we gotta I got to admit, I don't think I'm a big ice fisherman, but I haven't done it right, I think, either. So, but maybe a summertime beer on some water or near it. Hey, I'll give it a shot. I tried it a couple times, but I'll try it again. And maybe you guys will show me some things I haven't learned yet. But I'd love to get away and go hang out and talk some stuff other than snakes sometime. But thank you all. It's a real, like I say, real pleasure to know you and glad to have you on tonight. Thank you.
Thank
100%.
you, Adam.
Appreciate you, Adam.
My pleasure. Audience, like I say, go check out Morph Forge. Please do them a solid. Doesn't take anything to support people with a little like and subscribe and all that kind of thing. Next week, I've got Chris Eaton from the Fat Man Nation will be on the show. Same place, same time. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.